Hello and welcome to the channel. My name is Annalisa and this is going to be my October wrap-up part 2. I've only read 6 books, so this should be fairly short. First we have The Witch and the Vampire by Francesca Flores. This is about a world where vampires live in a forest and every once in a while break out through a magical wall and attack townspeople, and witches, mainly fire witches, because one of the few ways to kill a vampire is with flame, are employed by the Empire to kill the vampires. There are also other types of witches, such as root witches, and one of our main characters is a root witch who was turned into a vampire while she was young and therefore gets to keep her witch powers, whereas adult witches who are turned into vampires don't keep their powers. Our other main character is one of her childhood friends who is a flame witch, and because of various circumstances the flame witch suspects that her childhood friend, who is now a vampire, was the one who killed her mother. And so when she gets a chance to turn her vampire friend in for points from the Empire, she plans to take it. So it's a lot about dehumanization and othering of groups in order to make them disposable for the gain of the Empire, which what an interesting concept for current times. It's also a lot about friendship and forgiveness and rehumanization, figuring out that people you thought weren't people are actually in fact people. And it's a lot about the friendship between these two girls. It's also sapphic, and it has all the vampire and witchy feels you could want for the fall time of year. Also, our vampire character is a person of color and our witch character is mixed race. And the author is Latina. Then we have More to Love by Georgina Kirsten. I got an ARC of this one, but I actually decided to also buy a finished copy. Partially because when you are given an ARC, you're not supposed to like grade it on whether there are typos and stuff, but in a lot of finished copies of indie books, which this is one of, there are still typos in the finished copy, so I kind of wanted to see if that was the case, and it was. There were a few typos in the finished copy, but it didn't take away from my enjoyment. It is fairly similar to the other book I've read by this author, Fall Into You. It's fairly short. There is more characterization and length to this story. It's very sweet. It is about a bookstore owner falling in love with a wrestling coach, and they are very cute together, and I really liked the side characters who really added to it. And yeah, some of the characterization and backstory of the main characters and how they figured out how to deal with their issues stemming from those backstories in the present was really interesting. So I ended up giving it 4.5 stars. Then we have When They Call You a Terrorist by Patrice Concolers and Asha Bandele. And it's read by Patrice, and I think is from the perspective of Patrice. I listened to the audiobook, and it's about the author's life growing up and how much that was affected by the criminalization of her father and father figures and her brother. A lot about how her brother, who I believe has schizophrenia, was treated very badly by the criminal punishment system, how his disability was criminalized instead of being treated as a disability and as a medical issue. There was a lot about how horrible the prison system is and how it psychologically wrecks people physically, emotionally, all the ways it wrecks people, and it's about how that led up to her being involved in the Black Lives Matter movement and her experiences with that. It was very interesting, and like a lot of stuff that I've been aware of, but like further examples of that, and I highly recommend it. 5 stars. Then I also listened to the audiobook of Minor Detail, which has been free on Libro FM and might still be free. A lot of people rallied around the author, Adania Shibley, because she was to be given an award at the Frankfurt, I believe, book fair, and that was taken away because she was Palestinian, and the book fair wanted to make room for Israeli authors instead. That was pretty horrible, but there was a readathon on called the Reading is Resistance, I think, readathon, created by Hannah on TikTok. And yeah, it was really nice to see all the people who came out to support this author. And this book specifically, which is about the Nakba in 1948, when Israeli colonizers did a massive ethnic cleansing of Palestinians. 700,000 approximately were removed from their native lands. And in this case, it's about when things are fairly far along in that, some Israeli soldiers who captured a Palestinian girl and sexually assaulted and murdered her. That's the first half of the book, and it's told from the perspective of one of the leaders of the Israeli soldiers, and it's very creepy. There's the horror of what the Israeli soldiers are doing, and there's also some body horror and some other creepiness going on. And then the second half is about a Palestinian woman close to current times who reads a truncated version of this story in a newspaper, I think, and sets out to find out more about the story, more about the girl who was attacked, and goes on a road trip, which is not allowed for Palestinians to do. Most Palestinians are required to stay in whatever enclave they are in the West Bank. She is from the West Bank, and of course people in Gaza aren't allowed to leave at all. But she borrows the identification card of another Palestinian who is from East Jerusalem, and Palestinians from East Jerusalem have a few more rights of moving around than West Bank Palestinians do, being afraid of being caught all the time. Goes to a few museums and then tries to find the place where it actually happened. That part is very harrowing as well, and there is some more creepiness and also the overbearing real fear of being caught. And so yeah, it's both historical and present-day fiction that shows the realities of what happened and what happens now. It was really interesting and really useful information, so I give it 5 stars. Then we have a couple of books by Nadia Shamas, who is one of the co-authors of Squire that I talked about earlier in the month. This is Miss Marvel, the Little Golden Book, so it's very brief, it's very skinny, for pretty small kids, just has a few words per page, and it's about the basics of who Miss Marvel is, Kamala Khan, and like what her powers are and things like that. And that's very nice for the little ones. It does talk about her being Muslim and working with the Avengers. And then we have a graphic novel, quite a bit longer, that has that was illustrated by Nabi H. Ali, and I like the illustration style. It's pretty cute, and it's about Miss Marvel figuring out that she doesn't have to do everything on her own, and that working as a team is a strength, that she can depend on her friends and family. I really enjoy that, so I gave it 4.5 stars. And that's everything I read in the second half of the month. I'm going to be mostly reading Palestinian books and indigenous books for Native American Heritage Month in November. By the way, the blue glasses are because I sat on my pink glasses, so I have to wait a couple weeks before those come back in. These are my old glasses. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Free Palestine, action items in the description. Bye.